Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, and welcome to our weekly media briefing and public health update with Montgomery County Executive Mark Elrich. I'm Lorna Virgili, Hispanic Public Information Officer, and joining us today are Dr. James Bridgers, who is the Director of the Department of Health and Human Services, Mr. Sean O'Donnell, Assistant Chief of Public Health Services, and our guests this afternoon are Council President Natalie Fanny Gonzalez and Assistant Chief Administrative Officers, Dr. Earl Stoddard and Luisa Cardona. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Mr. County Executive, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, and thank everybody for being here. I hope everyone had a wonderful Independence Day holiday. I want to thank the Department of Recreation and everyone who helped us put together two outstanding fireworks shows, and for those who came out to watch, it apparently was quite an event. We had wonderful crowds and, most importantly, no serious injuries due to the heat or severe weather. And speaking of severe weather, I want to thank all of the repair crews that were called into action to help with power outages, downed trees, and other emergencies caused by strong storms on Sunday and Monday. Many of our communities suffered through extreme heat followed by these severe storms, and it was not the kind of peaceful weekend that all of us had hoped for. The county is launching an ICE reporting portal. Immigration and Customs Enforcement can't stay out of its own way, apparently, even though they've backed off from the illegal and out of control enforcement, so-called operations like in Minneapolis earlier this year, that tragically resulted in the death of two protesters and got the Homeland Security Director fired. They're still raising eyebrows and putting liberty in jeopardy through their questionable actions. ICE agents were caught on video last month confronting a poll worker in New York during voting. An investigation has been launched by the New York State's Attorney General's office. The implications of federal interference in an active election is alarming, and it is yet another shocking development under Trump. It is clear that efforts to intimidate voters and election workers is real, and I think anybody paying attention knows this is going on. Here in Montgomery County, we're not going to just sit by. I was proud to sign 4 new measures this summer to strengthen our resolve against ICE activity in the county. Today, we're unveiling a new tool to help our residents report something when they see something. The ICE reporting portal is an easy access website that allows our community to share information about ICE activity within the county. Up to now, people have been doing this independently. We were trying to collect and get information out, correct misinformation when misinformation came in. We've now formalized a point of contact and the information dissemination. So this is a good step forward. And to this point, many people have been relying on social media and other potentially unreliable sources for updates on what's going on. The portal is housed on the same site as our recently passed legislation to protect immigrant communities, along with videos and one-pagers available in multiple languages, because the more residents know, the harder it is to intimidate them. We want to share this information with everyone so they have as much information as possible to keep them informed and to curtail the fears that are out there. We're making it as difficult as possible to allow illegal acts by the federal officials to occur on our parking lots, county-owned properties, and correctional facilities. And, as we continue to talk about who they're actually deporting, they continue to deport primarily people who have not committed crimes, other than the mere fact they're here. All these big bad people that were supposed to be deported, not so much. So there's a continuing massive inconsistency between what they told people they were going to do and what they're actually doing in these deportations. Nationwide last summer, we saw a record high of more than 60,000 people detained for immigration violations, a surge of more than 50% over the previous high during Trump's first term. Conditions in many of these detention centers are horrendous, with people being kept in massive warehouses, stripped of dignity, sanctity, and religious liberty. And a new report by Human Rights Watch and Physicians for Human Rights found that deaths in ICE custody have climbed sharply, with at least 52 people dying since the start of this administration. That is a lot of people dying in custody. And of course, they're not accountable. ICE is now the highest funded law enforcement agency with an $85 billion fund at their disposal. Therefore, now is the time to act and help more of our neighbors and residents. I'd like to welcome Council President Nettie Finley Gonzalez to talk more about the efforts to provide information and resources to our community. After her, we'll hear in more detail about the reporting portal from two of our Assistant Chief Administrative Officers, Luisa Cardona and Earl Stoddard. They've been part of the group that's been working to stand this up. And I'll turn it over to Natalie.
Thank you so much, County Executive Mark Elrich, and I truly appreciate on behalf of the County Council your partnership with all the work that we have done. We have passed 5 pieces of legislation since earlier this year. When I became Council President, I told colleagues that historically, the Council does not take pieces of legislation when we are working through the budget. But I made the deception with immigration-related bills, and that's why we came out with 4 other bills so quickly. As part of this website that the county executive mentioned, this is an idea that came from Council Member Sidney Katz, and it was included in a couple of pieces of legislations that we passed. So we had the Trust Act, the County Values Act, the Unmasked ICE Act, the ICE Out Act, and the Vehicle Recovery Act. And I think this website is truly needed. One of the things that I suggested as soon as I became president is the fact that we didn't have a centralized location where people could see all these different pieces of legislation and they could get information on what to do if they see ICE or what to do if somebody that you love gets detained. So if you go to the website, which is montgomerycountymd.gov/protecting, you'll see the list of resources that we have, including the phone number for CASA's Rapid Response Hotline. As you know, they're one of our main partners, and as well as the Gilchrist Immigration Resource Center, where you can have their phone numbers and their website, and you can click for a list of legal aid as well. But the ICE reporting portal is key, and I just want to emphasize that the idea is for the community. When they see ICE agents wearing a mask, or when they see them in parking lots or in public property, which is now not legal based on the bills that we passed, that's when we want them to report the situation. And I need people to please keep that in mind. My office in particular gets lots of phone calls. Just the past week, I received 2 different phone calls from 2 different people about seeing ICE agents in our communities, okay? It does happen. I want to make sure that that is very clear. The federal government is allowed to come to Montgomery County and everyone else, and anywhere else. But we as a county, we have passed laws to ensure that we're not assisting them in any way. And this portal is key in asking our communities to help us get a sense of what's happening and to report what you see. And you click on that link once you go to the website. We, at the County Council, we're going to be having videos in English, Spanish, Amharic, French, educating people about this new website that we are releasing today, and continue to educate folks about the laws that we have in the county. And at the end of the day, we're going to be doing every single thing as possible to ensure that our community feels safe. And with that, I'm going to say a couple things in Spanish because I can. Lorna, we do have Spanish-speaking press, right?
Yes, we do.
Okay, so rapidito, mi nombre es Natalie Fanny González, yo soy la presidenta del Consejo del Condado de Montgomery. Estamos aquí con el ejecutivo del condado, Mark Elrich, quien ha sido un gran aliado para nosotros. Hemos pasado 5 legislaciones a nivel local para poder proteger a nuestra comunidad inmigrante. Y una de las cosas que hicimos fue la creación de una página web, y la idea vino del concejal Sidney Katz, donde sea una página donde se reporten las veces que una persona vea agentes de ICE poniéndose una máscara o estén en estacionamientos y edificios públicos. ¿Ok? La página web es montgomerycountymd.gov/protecting. Vamos a tener videos en español, lo van a ver en mi página social y en la página del consejo promocionando esta página. Y la idea es que cada vez que usted ve una persona de ICE en esos 2 lugares, por favor nos ayude a reportar ese hecho. Como estaba diciendo, no es que el gobierno del condado de Montgomery sea inmune de tener agentes federales. Los agentes federales van a venir acá y a cualquier otro sitio. Eso hay que tenerlo muy claro. Pero nosotros como gobierno no los vamos a ayudar a aterrorizar a nuestra comunidad y por eso hemos pasado leyes que dicen que no se puede discriminar a nadie basado en su estatus de inmigración y vamos a seguir haciendo todo lo posible por seguir siendo un condado que le da la bienvenida a nuestra comunidad inmigrante, así como lo soy yo, y hacerlo de una manera justa donde todos nos sintamos protegidos. With that, I turn it back to you, Lorna.
Thank you, Council President. If you don't mind, Dr. Stoddard and Ms. Cardona, I will open it up for questions for the Council President because she does have a hard stop. Tom Fitzgerald, Tom Fox 5DC, I see you have your hand up. Do you have questions for the Council President?
Yes. We were with you the day these bills were signed. You just said that federal officials are allowed to enter Montgomery County. Where is this information being disseminated to? Will the public be able to find out where ICE is? And what are you doing with this information once you get it?
The reality is that ICE doesn't call us to say, hey, I'm going to be going to this location ahead of time. Okay? So they just pop. It happens. And I want to make sure, and I have always said it to the public, I want to make sure that that's clear. The laws that we have passed have been laws where the county has authority, where the county has control. So, for example, the Trust Act, which I led, basically says that the county, including the police department, cannot assist ICE agents. That if ICE shows up to any public building, they must show a court order. That civil rights are going to be defended. That no agency in the county can discriminate anyone based on where they were born or their immigration status. That's the control that we have as a county, and I need to make sure that people understand that.
What I'm asking about, though, is the custody of this information. If somebody goes to this portal, reports that they're seeing ICE activity on Montgomery County property,
yes,
who receives that information, and then what does the county do with it? Is that publicly available?
So I'm going to turn it to Dr. Stoddard because we do have a process and he can go through that.
Sure. Thank you, Council President Ben Gonzalez. So there's two different types of reporting you can do. There's masks and for ICE on public properties or county property in the county. Let's put it that way. We're not asking residents to discern that it's a county parking lot or garage. We'll do that. So the information will come in through one of those two pathways. If it's a mask violation, that actually goes to the office of the county attorney for them to review whatever information. And this is all coming from the legislation itself. This was all discussed both in committee at the full council. So this isn't, we didn't apply our own discretion to this. This was actually all part of the legislation, which should be clear. Goes to the office of the county attorney for them to review and to determine whether there is sufficient evidentiary information where if they wanted to issue a citation to that ICE officer, they could. Now, obviously, that bar is quite high. We do not anticipate that happening in all or potentially even many cases, but that is where that information will go for them to adjudicate whether there's sufficient evidence there to suggest the violation has occurred. For reports of ICE staging or operating in a lot, garage, etc., that information goes both to our Department of Transportation and our police department for them to review. And what they will do is analyze trend data to see if there are certain county parking lots or garages where ICE are routinely using them to stage for activities. And then the county will decide whether it needs to increase the amount of signage it has that tells ICE that they can't do this, or potentially they may also put up gates or other fencing that precludes ICE from utilizing that space to stage in because we've decided as a county we don't want to suborn that activity. Obviously, what it also will also do is if, for example, it's a municipal parking lot, we can share the information with the municipality for them to determine what course of action they may take. And they probably, in many cases, will take similar actions to what the county has done, but that would be really at their discretion to do. And then finally, it allows us to analyze trend data, where we can see if ICE is utilizing in a particular part of the community more regularly. They're targeting a particular part of the community with some of these reports coming in. That allows us to get supportive services directed to that area of the county, because we know that there's going to be people who are displaced, minors potentially who are left behind, things of that nature. Obviously, we're not going to interfere with the federal. Yeah.
Right. But will this data be made public? Will the public be able to see this data and see where ICE is operating?
We will report this information out. We haven't fully decided exactly what
in real time.
Retrospective, what we anticipate, Tom, I'll be very candid. Like, we know that we're going to get some dummy reports early on. For example, a lot of reports are going to come in with people testing the system, and we want to validate not that this is actual ICE activity, but this is a actual report. And so once those come in, and we figure out how many of those are going to get the information. Look, there's no mechanism by which we could shield this information from release to the public ultimately, but obviously we'll determine how we're going to release it after we see the nature of the information and how many reports come in, for example. But no, we're not going to keep this secret, but we haven't decided exactly what the reporting mechanism. But again, it is subject to, MPI and other things like that. So,
County Executive, can I ask you?
Yeah.
We've repeatedly asked you whether or not over the years Montgomery County is a sanctuary county. You've repeatedly said Montgomery County is not a sanctuary county. How is this not sanctuary county activity?
Because it's not. All we're doing is say there are places they can't operate. We have a full right to do that. But it doesn't stop them from coming into Montgomery County. It doesn't stop them from making arrests or whatever they're doing on, within the bounds that they're allowed to do it in. So we have not made it impossible for them to operate. We just said, you're not doing it on our property.
And if I sees this differently and they increase operations in Montgomery County, or is the county prepared for that?
We'll see what they do. We're we're not optimistic. I'm not optimistic about what ICE is going to do here. I think that, given what they've done elsewhere, they don't seem to be backing off of, we're just going to arrest anybody we can find that looks like an immigrant. They still are not focusing on the so-called really bad people they said they were going to get rid of for everybody. So I expect more of the same from them. I don't think they need an excuse. I don't think that our parking lots or buildings will impair them from doing the things they want to do.
Thank you. I think I took more than my fair share. I appreciate
That's
it.
okay.
Thank you, Tom. Talia Varelas, Univision DC. Go ahead, Talia.
Yes, thank you so much for taking my questions. I would like the president to answer them in Spanish if possible. And the first question is, para las personas que tienen temor de utilizar esta herramienta por cuestiones de su información personal, de que sea compartida o que sea de alguna manera rastreada, ¿cuál sería su mensaje para ellos?
Por favor, no tema, porque esta información es realmente confidencial. Si ves el portal, que es ICE Report Important, vas a ver que es súper sencillo, y es básicamente para poder resolver. Ni siquiera pregunta quién es usted o pide teléfono o dirección de la persona. Y si eso se hizo intencional para que no existe ese tipo de temor. Y es muy importante, si usted ve algo, que por favor use el portal y se comunique. Yo sigo teniendo las llamadas de teléfono y los emails que me vienen de la comunidad, y yo lo que hago es que transfiero la información al portal, empezando el día de hoy. Pero si la gente se familiariza con el portal, sería mucho mejor porque se centraliza todo.
¿Qué harán con la información que reciban a través de esta herramienta?
Mira, la información básicamente es analizada por nuestros departamentos tanto el departamento de la Fiscalía del Condado como el departamento de la Policía, e inclusive el departamento de Transporte, que tiene que ver con nuestros garajes, y básicamente se ve la intensidad cada vez que viene, se analiza cuánta actividad tiene ICE en el condado. Eso es muy importante, reportar hechos que realmente estén pasando. A veces la gente se pone un poquito creativa y empieza a reportar cosas que no son, y lo vemos mucho por social media, medios sociales, que la gente reporta cosas que piensa que está pasando, pero realmente no es realidad. Entonces es importante que si lo usa, lo haga de manera consciente y vea lo que pasa, puede añadir fotos, puede añadir el tiempo y el lugar donde pasó. Es bastante detallado en esa manera.
Y por último, ¿les preocupa que esto llame la atención de la Agencia Federal de Inmigración y pues por ende aumenten los operativos en el condado?
Mira, a mí eso ya no me preocupa porque ya yo creo que todos los condados a nivel nacional somos target de esta administración. Yo pienso que más bien están intencionalmente incrementando su personal de ICE. Es uno de los departamentos que tiene más dinero a nivel federal. Es algo sumamente triste y más bien veo que este tipo de herramientas que tenemos en el condado de Montgomery nos ayuda a estar preparados, a estar informados y a seguir protegiendo a nuestra comunidad, tanto podamos hacerlo con nuestra autoridad local, ¿me entiendes? Entonces, no estoy diciendo que los agentes federales no van a venir a Montgomery County porque es imposible, ellos tienen la autoridad de venir, pero no lo pueden hacer bajo la coordinación o usando cualquier tipo de beneficios de este condado de Montgomery.
Gracias.
Thank you, Talia. Brad Bell, ABC7. Go ahead, Brad. You might need to mute. There you are.
There I am. There I am. I don't have a fancy background like my buddy Tom over at Channel 5. Sorry. So, a couple questions. First off, who's going to be monitoring this? Is staff assigned to it, and like what's the expense of that? Like, who's going to be looking at this, and is it in real time?
So I'll answer your last question first, which is not in real time. This is not intended to be. There will not be an immediate response to a report, meaning we're not going to be rushing lights and sirens with the police department to intervene in a ICE staging, for example. They'll be the files go into a SharePoint file that are reviewed by staff as they come in, but not in the moment. There's not someone who's assigned 24/7, 365 to monitoring the reports as they come in. We do have other pathways, obviously, where if immigration action has been taken and there are, displaced families, for example, calling the CASA helpline is the right way to go there, and that will get them get people connected directly to the service. This reporting mechanism is not intended to be, nor staffed to be, a real-time response. And again, that was something that was discussed at great length at the county council and was that was the consensus that was reached by the council in concert, in conversation with the executive branch.
Okay. And another one for whomever, county executive, president. What good can this do? When this was all sort of discussed, I asked the question about, are you afraid of poking the bear here? And what upside do you expect from this? What good can this portal do for the community?
Mark, you want to go first? And then I'll go.
Sure. I mean, I think what it does is it limits the sites where they can do these activities. And anything we can do to constrain where they do this, I think is a net plus. And obviously we can't stop everything. If we tried to do that, we'd have no success in doing that. So it pushes this about as far as we can go to try to limit what they're doing. And I think some break on this is better than trying to put no brakes on this.
I would just add, Brad, that data is power. And if I have the opportunity to collect information from the community about the laws that we have passed as a council, why not? And this is exactly what we're doing, analyzing the interactions that we're going to have with the federal government. They're going to come no matter what. And whether we had this portal or not, they were going to come, and they're coming anyway. I think it helps us to be ready to confront situations that might increase, not just here, but nationwide.
Thank you.
Also, and I think this goes to Tom's question earlier. Our information suggests that ICE activity is already increasing. This is not likely to generate an increased response if previous postures did not protect us from ICE increasing its activities. Obviously we have information from the call line. We have information about who's coming into the Gilchrist Center seeking services. We are seeing an impact in the community, and the impact is deepening as this situation is ongoing. And so, you ask under the premise that are likely to see an increase. I would counter to say we already are.
All right. Thank you all.
Yeah, Brad, I'd double down on that part. We've already seen the increase. The only reason that we didn't have higher numbers early on was that ICE was understaffed. And, so they've spent the last year staffing up and increasing the available people they have. And we all knew when they, started getting into that lovely $85 billion budget, whatever it is, and they started hiring people, that our turn would come. And our moment is going to arrive. So I don't think nothing we would have done would have got them to say, hey, we'll leave you guys alone, go about your business.
Council President, we have 3 reporters waiting.
It's okay. I'll stay.
Okay, you can stay a couple more minutes. Okay, Judith Harth of the Greater Olney News. Good afternoon, Judith.
Good afternoon. I just had it's sort of a quick follow-up, and Dr. Stoddard, you more or less answered this with Brad's question, but I want to make sure. So if somebody calls President Fanny Gonzalez's office and says, quick, there's something going on at such and such a place, and it's a lot of ICE agents, no one will go out and check it out and see what's happening. It will be used more internally for data. Is that correct?
So I want to be clear here. When we say no one will go out, meaning we're not going to send out a police or other response to this. But typically, as is the case in just about all these situations, there are partners on the ground, whether that's CASA, Identity, MoCo, IRC, who are responding and identifying both who the individuals who have been detained are and what the disposition, for example, is there a vehicle left behind? Is there a family that's been fractured? Are there children who do not have parents? And then they'll connect them with the existing social service network that Montgomery County has so robustly invested in, both through the county executive and the county council's actions. And we'll make sure that those families who have been so deeply impacted have access to resources. What the reporting portal really is, it is not intended as a surrogate or a substitute for the existing system that has been in place for well over a year for families to receive assistance and to address property that has been displaced. This reporting portal is observational data. You can both report through the call line and the portal, and we'll obviously be deconflicting or where necessary, connecting the dots on those. We expect that for any given incident, we're going to receive multiple different reports that all point to the same singular detention or stop or activity. And so we'll obviously have some back-end deconfliction to do of the information we're receiving through our various pipelines. But to be crystal clear, this reporting portal is not a surrogate nor a substitute for those other mechanisms that exist in place to get people the help that they need after an immigration action is taken.
Gotcha. Thank you.
And just to add, even the portal, if you see it, I think somebody put it in the chat, right on top, you see the 3 things that, you can call 911 if it's to report a federal emergency activity or raid, call the CASA response hotline, or call the Gilchrist Center for Detention Assistance. So that's also in the same place to centralize all the information.
Thank you.
Mauricio Casillas, NBC4. Go ahead, Mauricio.
Hey there, thanks for taking the time. I guess I wanted to ask, if someone reports ICE activity that's taking place, on county property, what sort of, which is against this new legislation that was passed by the county, what sort of teeth is there? What sort of mechanism is there from the county to step in and say, hey, ICE, you can't be here? Like, what does intervention like that look like from the county's perspective?
I think one thing that we discussed in the county council once we were approving this piece of legislation, Mauricio, was the data that we're collecting is key. Because, for example, if you see a parking lot that usually gets ICE activity, the county can react by even placing a gate, right? So they don't do that anymore, placing more signs, and more of the the gate front, let's just do the gate, we can take measures to prevent that from that to continue happening. So that's one way. The second way, if they go inside one of the particular public buildings, as I said before, the Trust Act, they're required to have a court order. So it's not like they can just walk in. So there are measures in place. But I think the most important one, especially for staging, when ICE comes to a community and they stage, meaning that they bring their cars and all their equipment, the idea is not to let them use our parking lots, our public parking lots. And as Dr. Stoddard mentioned, if it happens within a municipality where we don't have authority, let's say Gettysburg, the idea is is to have Gettysburg to follow our model. We do work great with them. So that's, as I said before, data is power, and this is gonna help us getting prepared, because the way I see it is just gonna get worse. So this is a way to act.
Are there examples of any of that signage already up at any of the county buildings?
Dr. Stoddard, don't we have some already up or about to?
I was going to defer to, I know Luis has been working on the signage piece of this where we already posted.
Yes, we already have signage on a few county buildings. The Department of General Services is in the process right now of printing out the official signage and putting it in all of our buildings. And this will be subsequent, then will be all of the parking lot signage. But yes, it's already in process. And just to note, on the website, when you look under the Values Act, part of the Values Act was also that we provide signage for private organizations that wanted to post. If they wanted to post that they didn't want ICE on their property, they didn't consent to it, that signage can be downloaded from that website for any private business or organization to use and print out.
Thank you.
Thank you. Rod Bell, you're back. You have a follow-up question?
Yeah, I'm back. Well, TV reporters are always looking for a place to do our live shot. So I would love to know if you have a specific location where a sign may already be up. But primarily, I forgot to ask last time, what's the cost associated with this? Is there any cost with this? So 2 questions.
Yeah, I'll let Luis speak to the second piece where we know there's signage already up. But so on the cost piece, we didn't calculate. I mean, there was a certain number of person hours invested in developing the portal itself and the website itself. Those are technology office time. Those would be measured in probably the dozens of hours over the course of the last 6 weeks or so. But in terms of I would designate the cost as relatively nominal. It's not like there's we didn't have to buy any equipment. We didn't have to hire any staff. This was all time that was already considered.
Got it. Understood.
The Silver Spring Civic Center has signage up outside of it, as well as the Department of Health and Human Services at the Hungerford building.
Okay, so like Veterans Plaza, that thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it. See you all.
Thank you. Members of the media, no additional questions for Council President Natalie Fanny Gonzalez, because she has a hard stop and she's already late. Okay. Thank you so much for joining us, Council President, this afternoon. Tom, you have a follow-up for her? I see your hands up.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, not for the council president. I had an off topic
For the
county
next
executive.
topic. Okay, gotcha. Thank you, Council President. Have a great afternoon. We'll see you soon. Mr. County Executive, other topics.
Okay, meanwhile, so even though we're halfway through the summer, there have already been 2 deaths in the Potomac River. Over the holiday weekend, a 16-year-old drowned near Great Falls Park. I want to remind everyone that it is illegal to swim in the Potomac River. It's also really dangerous to swim in the Potomac River. People are dying every year. This is not abnormal. I wish it were. And we keep telling people this is not the place to swim. The county has pools. We have places people can go if they want to swim. This river is not where you should be going. First responders have repeatedly implored the public to avoid swimming there because of the strong currents and sudden dips in the river bottom. And still tragedies like this occur every year, and families left to wonder if more could have been done to prevent them. I agree that, you know, our best defense is education. There's no way to monitor every square inch of the shoreline. And we're not going to put a barrier along the whole shoreline to keep people from getting close to the river. And so it's up to all of us to help those who might not understand the real consequences involved in swimming when you're not supposed to. I would encourage people, if you're out by the river and you see people going in, please feel free to remind them that this is both illegal and not safe. Experts with the Montgomery County Fire and Rescue Service encourage you to use county pools and city facilities rather than these open bodies of water. And people have to understand the risk that comes with swimming in man-made ponds near their homes and developments. There may have been fish and other wildlife with them, but they could also contain rebar, which are these metal rods, for those of you who don't know what rebar is, that are often put on in construction, or stormwater management infrastructure that is underneath the surface of the pond that you don't see. And so please don't go into the ponds. Stay out of the river. We've got swimming pools for a reason. Please use our swimming pools. To follow up on the issue of the elevated levels of PFAS chemicals found in parts of the stormwater pond and small stream near Great Seneca Highway and Key West Avenues, those areas will remain a water contact advisory. That means no swimming, no fishing, no allowing kids or pets to play in the water for the foreseeable future. Last week, the second public meeting was held for concerned residents. And I've shown this map before, but just to remind everyone, the locations shown in yellow with red stripes are the areas where forever chemicals were found in concentrations higher than what's considered safe for drinking water. These spots are close to the former Public Safety Training Academy, where PFAS-containing firefighting foam was used for many years. PFAS are a human-made substance. They've been using them since the 1940s in things like nonstick cookware, water-resistant clothing, and some food packaging. They remain in the environment forever, and long-term exposure may increase risks for certain health problems, including some cancers and effects on the immune system and cholesterol levels. It is unfortunate because studies have shown that PFAS, some of these PFAS, there's more than one kind, but some of the PFAS types are dangerous and unhealthy for human beings to be exposed to them. And unfortunately, we've known about this for a long time, and the government still refuses to regulate the things that are known carcinogens out of use. So we have a problem with the chemical. We have a problem that it's in our water, and it's pretty much ubiquitous now. And we have a bigger problem that the government has apparently no intention to actually protect the public from having more PFAS put into the environment. Out of an abundance of caution, we recommend staying away from water and washing thoroughly with soap and clean water if you, your pets, or your children are exposed. As a reminder, WSSC Water has confirmed that drinking water drawn from the Potomac River does meet all federal PFAS standards. The test sites where the elevated levels were identified are not collection points for drinking water. In addition, private well owners in the area have been contacted and their wells are being tested. If you have concerns about your private well, please visit the Maryland Department of Environment Be Wellwise website. Montgomery County and the Department of Environment will continue additional testing of water, soil, and groundwater and keep the public updated on what we find. And a county interagency task force is already coordinating this work. So I encourage everyone to visit the county's PFAS information page, which can be found at montgomerycountymd.gov/PFAS, or you can call 311 with questions. So before we open up the questions, I'll give my staff an opportunity to provide any updates they want to share. I'll start with the health team.
Good afternoon, Mr. County Executive. Always a pleasure to join your calls. I don't have any updates. I'll toss it over to Mr. O'Donnell for his public health update this afternoon.
Thank you, Dr. Bridgers. There are no public health updates at this time, but happy to answer any questions that may come through. I know there's a number of hands up, but wanted to see if Dr. Stoddard had any updates before we took questions.
No additional updates.
Okay, great. Tom, go ahead. Tom Fitzgerald, Fox 5 DC. Go ahead, Tom.
Okay, thank you once again. This is about the Metro Red Line shutdown. Obviously, as you know, Monday started this 2-month-long shutdown. There were thousands of people Monday night waiting for trains. You would surmise most of these are Montgomery County residents who are being adversely affected by this. We spoke with the Executive Vice President and Chief Operations Officer yesterday, and he told us one of the big problems that they're having with the shuttles right now is that 3.5-mile corridor of shuttle buses is getting clogged, especially through downtown Bethesda, by delivery trucks, food trucks, just regular ordinary cars, people parking in those lanes, not moving. The shuttles are having to go into the regular traffic lanes. That is creating more congestion. That has been slowing down the shuttles. Now, I reached out to Montgomery County Police yesterday. We got a response back, somewhat in police talk, talking about partnerships with the Maryland Department of Transportation and the Maryland State Police providing education enforcement along 355, utilizing central traffic, CTU officers, and on and on and on. I was out there for 2 hours. We didn't see anybody from Montgomery County Police enforcing these bus lanes. Metro's saying it's a problem. Is Montgomery County doing enough to enforce these bus lanes if this is really affecting a lot of Montgomery County Metro passengers?
I'm concerned that you were there for 2 hours and didn't see anything. Because it's not like we don't have police in various parts of the county. I will say that it does distract police from the other things they're supposed to be doing, which is unfortunate. But I think we at least need to go through a period of sending a loud enough message that you can't park your vehicles there and you can't stop and wait for people there. I do think it's important because this is a huge corridor. You've got a lot of people who are riding these buses. If they took the cars, the situation would be even worse, if you can imagine it. So we will talk with the department about making sure they have a presence. And, if people have to get tickets, they have to get tickets. And if we have to tow people, we tow people.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Talia Varelas, again, Univision, DC.
Yes, thank you so much for taking my question again. This will be for Luisa in Spanish. El llamado para miembros de la comunidad en estos momentos que seguimos con estas altas temperaturas y los peligros en las aguas del río Potomac.
Sí, mira, nuestro mensaje es que nadar en el río Potomac es ilegal. Las corrientes son muy fuertes y pueden ser mortales. Ya hemos perdido 2 personas este verano, incluyendo un niño de 16 años. Así que por favor, no naden en esos ríos. Usen nuestras piscinas del condado, porque no deben arriesgar su vida ni la de su familia en un río o en otro tipo de agua que no es manejada como una piscina.
Gracias.
Excellent. Ilya Griffin, Bethesda Today, your turn.
Hi, thank you. My question is also about the Potomac River. I'm wondering, is there anything the county is planning or considering to do in order to prevent more drowning deaths or swimmers? And I'm not sure who could answer that question. The other question I have is just any additional details about the 16-year-old boy. Was he from Montgomery County?
I guess I'll tackle. So as far as the youth who passed last week, I don't have additional information at this time. I'm sure the police department will, obviously there's a death investigation there. They'll release information as relevant. It is obviously a minor. I'm not sure exactly what the information they'll release. Now, on the first part, obviously, we've had conversations about what additional we can do with additional signage and or enforcement. Obviously, it's tricky because the Potomac River is quite long and people can enter at various stages. But we have had a discussion about what we can do to try and address this issue in concert with U.S. Park Police and others, because obviously some of the order of the Potomac is not just Montgomery County property. or it's some of it's federal land, and we have to work with federal partners to address that too. But certainly, it is something we are concerned about. Particularly during the hottest months of the year. This is our second fatality of the season, and so we have talked about increased enforcement along the river because these are lives that don't need to be lost, and people need to understand just how dangerous the conditions can be.
Yeah. I'm curious, one follow-up just about enforcement. Who enforces, these swimming rules? And also, do you know, is there a fine or a citation?
Yeah, there is definitely a fine. I remember, I don't have it available. It is posted online. You should easily be able to find what the fine is. It's several $100 ticket you can receive for activities. Now, generally speaking, there are a number of different agencies that can technically enforce this ban, but in these situations where you may have someone who's out there and we get notified of it, most notably, it's going to be the police department who's enforcing. It's effectively a trespassing situation, where the citation would be issued for that. So that's generally how this would work. Now, obviously, we can have a number of different agencies, and this probably will be a collective in terms of the public information education portion of this. There'll be a number of agencies involved in this, but typically the enforcement will, in most cases, whenever there's a real-time enforcement requirement, more often than not, it's going to end up being the police department.
The fine is $200.
200.
200 or more.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mariam Shassad, Montgomery Community Media. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, thanks. I wanted to ask about the Trump accounts, the saving accounts. Would anyone on the call know if there are local employers contributing to that?
I have no idea. Nobody's approached us about it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. And Talia, your hand's still up. You have follow-up questions?
Sorry, forgot to take it down.
Okay, excellent. All right, members of the media, any additional questions for the county executive and/or officials? No more questions? Thank you all for joining. Have a great afternoon, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you.